Coach, last weekend in Columbus, the team had their first road meet of the season in a really large field of competition. I guess what are some of the takeaways from that one as you're heading into kind of that really competitive portion of the season right before championships?
Yeah, last weekend was kind of a mixed bag. I think that we walked away knowing that we're fit right now. I think if we take the men's side, for example, I think that this was really our first race of the year. We had 2 meets that we hosted against some big competition, but we also used them more as kind of feeler workouts in a race situation. I told all the men, if you put all of them 10 seconds faster, which is ultimately only 2 seconds per mile faster, then we would have either won the meet or been a really close second. And I think against that competition, that's a really good place for us, knowing that was our first all-out race for the season. They did really well. With the women, I think that we showed up a little bit flat. We had a really high volume workout on Tuesday, and I don't think that represented exactly where we were. But that's a really big positive because when you look at the teams that we competed against, I mean, they're nationally ranked teams. But we also beat Toledo, which is they were picked as the MAC favorites preseason. And so I think we can walk away with confidence as well with the women's side. We're just very deep on both sides right now.
First time this season with back-to-back weekends of competition. Coming after Columbus, now headed over to Notre Dame. What's the strategy both for preparation and ultimately what you want both teams to walk away feeling?
Yeah, it's a good question. We did a workout on Tuesday that was still a very high intensity workout, but low volume workout. We didn't want to go so deep in the volume that they're carrying the fatigue over a few days. So we race on Friday tomorrow, and it's one of these things where the competition is really high, but this course is very fast as well. So there's not so much a place in the race where you can back off and recover a little bit. It's gas pedals on the entire way, and we know it's going to be a very hard effort. The women only run 5K, and I think it's going to be a great chance to follow up the 6K at Ohio State with a really hard effort when they're going to be a little bit more prepared. I think they should be a little bit fresher. I think they're going to see a lot of personal best times. And again, I think it's going to be a weekend for them to prove to themselves how great they actually are right now. Like, we've been really excited about the women's team. With the men, it's a 5-mile effort. It's going to be a very hard tempo run, and we get to stack up against some of the great teams in the nation. I think it'll be a good place for us to walk away from feeling really good about where we are right now.
As we enter October, how are you seeing the packs on both teams kind of shake out as far as lineup decisions?
That's a good question. You know, we narrowed down to 12 to go to the pre-nationals over at Terre Haute. And then 2 weeks later is the MAC meet, and we can bring 9. And right now, I think we're going to have some very hard decisions to make. I couldn't tell you who our top 5 is on either side because I think there are some athletes that came in with a little bit of a slower summer, and they're just now coming into their fitness. I think it's been common for the men that from 1 week to the next, we just don't even know who's going to be first, second, or third for us. And I think we're so deep right now that we could see some spots changing up pretty easily. So that makes it just that much more exciting. I think we proved last year that we've got a very deep team, and we're following it up pretty well right now.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Charlie, last week the team headed over to Columbus, their first road meet of the year. What are some of the takeaways that the team has from that one going against a pretty large field over in Columbus?
Well, last meet was we treated it almost as our first full effort race. We had a couple of home meets before that where we ran more as workouts and kind of just getting readjusted to the season. So it was kind of a rust buster last week, but we were excited going into it, having our first real race. So we wanted to try out running as a team more, and I think that worked out pretty well. Throughout the whole race, we were running together, and it really gave us a confidence booster in terms of just our fitness. We had 2, both men's and women's. I think we ran as a group, and you could see in the results that we were pretty close. I think it was a really good weekend, and going up against the tough competition, I think it was good because they got to see what we do as a pack now.
And to that end of kind of compacting that pack a little bit, heading over to Notre Dame, what's kind of the game plan, especially first back-to-back weeks of competition of the season?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting going back-to-back. We had a couple weeks of working out, so we got some really tough workouts in, so this is we had some rest, so now hopefully we should be able to handle back-to-back. I think we're all ready to go even harder than last week because now that we've had a race under our belt, I think we're all excited to run even faster. we're going to be in a race where we have the possibility of winning as a team. We're going to have definitely a chance to have some individuals high up there. So I think we're going to try to run it together and run it aggressive, a little bit more aggressive than last week, and try to get some guys scoring in top 10, top 15 for the team.
All right, thanks, Charlie.
Yep.
Obsa, coming off of Ohio State, what's kind of the mentality of the team now that you've kind of started going on the road and facing these larger fields of competitions?
I like racing against big competitions, especially in high school. My first big competition was when I made it to nationals. So going to Ohio State, I was really excited and kind of nervous because, college is different than high school. It's bigger competition and guys are older, and so I was very excited to compete guys that are way faster than me. But I ended up doing better than what I expected. Now going to this meet, I'm very excited. I know what I could do, and based on the practice that we had, I know I'll do pretty good.
So you mentioned how different college is from high school, but so far it hasn't really been too tall of an order for you. You've had some pretty high finishes over your first 3 races. I guess what went into your preparation for being ready for the college grind?
I trusted my coach. The first thing I have is I have trust in the coaches and the program, and also the guys. If I could stay with the guys at practice, I know I could stay with anyone in the race. So that just gave me a strong mentality to stay with the guys on top.
Kind of getting into that really competitive portion of the season right before championship season. What's the team hoping to get out of this weekend at Notre Dame?
We're trying to score pretty high. As Charlie said, we're not trying to play around. This is a big competition, and yeah, we're trying to win max, go to regionals, and make it to nationals. So that's the goal. Our goal is very high. So we're not trying to play around here.
Thanks, Obsa.
Thank you.
Emma, team got their first road meet out of the way last weekend over in Columbus. I guess what overall is kind of the team's takeaway from that one as you're kind of starting that really grinding portion of the season the few weeks leading up to the championships?
It was definitely a really good meet with some really good competition, so it was a lot of good exposure, and it got us kind of into the race running mode rather as we've been running workouts in our home meets. So it was kind of just a good opener type of thing.
So now as you face back-to-back weekends with competition for the first time this season, going over to Notre Dame, what are some of the adjustments that the group's been kind of making in terms of preparation, and what are they hoping to kind of walk out of South Bend with this weekend?
Well, for one, based off of how Ohio State went, we're going to work on meeting before the race and establishing a race plan that everybody on the team knows. And for this meet specifically, our main plan is to work on running as a pack. Just for our conference meet, that's going to be huge. If we can have all 5 of our girls, or maybe all top 7 of our girls together, it'll really help us push each other to get PRs and to the end of the race together.
I know the team has bigger plans in mind as a group than just being conference champions, but has any confidence at all come out of the Ohio State meet, having seen a favored team in Toledo there and really standing toe-to-toe with them?
Yeah, so that was really big for us to run against Toledo this past weekend, considering Toledo and Eastern Michigan are probably our biggest competition this season. I feel like we didn't have a great showing, and even though we didn't have a great showing, we still beat them. I'm not sure of the score completely, but we beat them. So that was obviously really good, and that gives us a lot of confidence going into the championship. We haven't seen Eastern Michigan yet, but we know they have a few top runners, but they don't have as much of a pack, and we're really deep this season, so I think we've got kind of an advantage going in there.
All right. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.